Those Hogwarts robes may have looked roomy, but did you realize that the kids all had their pockets sewn shut? Because Tom Felton kept breaking the rules. And speaking of breaking the rules, Alan Rickman made off with more than a few props from set that he wasn't supposed to. Some rules are golden, but others were made to be broken. These are all the rules the Harry Potter cast was meant to follow. Harry Potter fans know best how a little chocolate can go a long way.
Eat. You'll feel better.
Tom Felton took this advice to heart, and during the first few films, he used to sneak chocolate and sweets into the pockets of his Hogwarts robes. Some of the other kids even started to follow his example, though Tom wouldn't give away any of their names. This went against the production's strict rule against snacking during filming hours, and so the costume department came up with a creative solution to the rule breaking by sewing up the pockets on the kids' robes. This probably came in handy when it came to handling any theft on set as well. We can imagine, though they only started doing this sometime after The Prisoner of Azkaban. Any stars with sticky fingers still had 3 whole movies to make away with some pretty memorable memorabilia. You've probably heard your favorite stars talk about taking the occasional souvenir from set.
They ended up making like 15 of them, so there's like, just take one.
But in the case of Harry Potter, taking things from set was a strict no-no. As spoilers, still that didn't stop the actors from trying. Jason Isaacs watched Alan Rickman slip a few gold coins into his pockets during the first days of filming at Gringotts Bank, which made him feel like he'd be safe to go up to director David Yates and politely ask if he could take home one of the thousands of copies of the Daily Prophet. David said yes. But when Jason tried to leave with the paper, he was approached by a set worker who told him he needed it back. Jason may not have been lucky, but Daniel Radcliffe was able to get away with 2 pairs of Harry's glasses, while Emma Watson kept her wand, her time turner, and a cloak. So this rule is pretty standard for franchises like this. Does anyone remember the time Tom Holland leaked the poster for Endgame?
No.
Stars just aren't supposed to discuss anything from filming when they're off set. But one Harry Potter star took that responsibility further than most. Alan Rickman had a difficult job, as it wasn't always easy to tell what Snape's intentions were supposed to be. Because of this, Alan would argue with directors over how Snape would act. Early into filming, J.K. Rowling had helped Alan by telling him what lies behind the word always. And according to producer David Heyman, there were several times where Alan would tell directors, "No, I can't do that. I know what is going to happen and you don't." Which we imagine must have been frustrating, but not nearly as frustrating as not being subscribed to our channel. So make sure to hit that button now to join our party. And speaking of parties, you're probably pretty familiar with this rule from your school or workplace already. The producers wanted our cast to be just as clear-headed and focused on their work as your boss most likely wants you to be, and so they asked our cast not to partake in any alcohol or illicit substances. Although that didn't stop, well, everyone. Between the ages of 18 and 21, Daniel Radcliffe used to drink as a means to cope with the immense pressure of fame.
I did become very reliant on it.
Daniel swore that he never drank at work on Harry Potter, but would admit that I went into work still drunk. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone. Dead behind the eyes, Daniel was able to quit in 2010 with the help of friends and family.
The last year has been a lot more manageable and a lot better. I've been a lot happier.
We're just glad that nobody got hurt. Can you imagine what would have happened if one of the actors were injured during filming? A sprained knee alone could have delayed production by days or even weeks, and so the entire cast was forbidden from playing any contact sports. And so what did the cast do instead? They golfed. Oliver Phelps revealed that golf was one of the only sports we were allowed to do in our contract because it was relatively quite safe. This led to a number of the actors developing an obsession with golf, and they even set up a sort of driving range using a mat and a 150-yard cone at the other end, at Leavesden Studios, where the films were made. Oliver said he and his brother, James, would often hang out with Rupert Grint there, just so long as they were being careful with everyone else's things. Now you gotta respect the ride. We definitely like to think of the Harry Potter cast as being like a family, and so it's nice to hear that the rumors from set suggest that Alan Rickman took Rupert Grint and Matthew Lewis out for milkshakes one day after filming for The Goblet of Fire. But what should have been a cute little moment between them turned into a whole big mess when those milkshakes wound up all over the backseat. So when Alan bought himself a BMW at some point during the filming for Order of the Phoenix, he set down the rule that none of the younger actors actors were allowed to touch it.
Control your emotions.
But especially not Rupert or Matthew, who were the alleged reasons for the rule to be put in place in the beginning. And it's a shame, too. We imagine they could have used those milkshake breaks in between studying. Just because you're at wizarding school doesn't mean you don't have to study. The child stars on the set for Harry Potter were all required to attend 4 hours of tutoring, either on or somewhere nearby the set. And considering their characters were all supposed to be at school anyway, actors who appeared in the background would often be encouraged to do their actual homework, just to make it look as realistic as possible, according to Oliver Phelps. At one point, the director Alfonso challenged our stars to write an essay speaking to their characters, and each one of our main 3 responded in the most in-character of ways. Daniel was proud of his essay until he saw Emma's 16 pages, and Rupert?
I didn't do it.
Oh, Rupert. But while they may have been normal kids in some ways, when it came to their hair, they had far less control than you would want. How attached are you to your current hairstyle? Can you imagine wearing it for the next 10 years? While our stars were filming for Harry Potter, they were under contractual obligation not to change their appearance whatsoever. This was especially troublesome for Tom Felton, who had to touch up his dark roots like every 5 or so days just to maintain Draco Malfoy's bleached blonde look. When filming ended, he said that not having to dye his hair anymore was
It's kind of one of the greatest reliefs of it all.
Emma Watson was another one who struggled with her hair at the time. She referred to her hair in the first movie as ugly, and just as soon as filming ended, she cut all of her hair off into a pixie cut. She said that she's wanted to do it since she was about 16, and described the haircut as liberating. But that isn't even the only hair-related dilemma they had on set. It seems that Hogwarts is more like a regular school than you'd think. During the filming of The Chamber of Secrets, our young cast dealt with a serious outbreak of head lice that changed the way things were done for a little bit. It's hard to say if the hair department could have played a role in the spread, as they may have been using improperly sanitized tools between actors, but that's neither been confirmed nor denied. And really, it isn't that surprising when you consider the fact that lice tend to gather where children are anyway. According to Daniel Radcliffe, each child actor had to undergo a thorough lice check before they were allowed to go on to do any filming, so that it would be dealt with then and there, so they don't get out of hand. But while we're on the topic of Daniel, did you know that he wasn't even Chris Columbus's first choice to play Harry? This rule affected who was even allowed to be in the cast. When picking out names to be in the first Harry Potter film, Warner Bros. Wasn't exactly looking at the sort of cast you might expect. Like, they wanted Robin Williams to play Hagrid, and the director Chris thought that Liam Aiken, who played Klaus in Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, would make the perfect Harry. But what do those two actors have in common? Well, for those of you who don't already know, they're both American, and J.K. Rowling put down her foot to say that the cast needed to be primarily British. But that doesn't mean that a few American actors didn't manage to slip through the cracks, like Michigan-born Vern Troyer, who took on the role of Griphook in the first movie, before going on to be replaced by English actor Warwick Davis. So although there may have been a few troublemakers among the cast making away with props they shouldn't, it's nice to see that everyone amongst the cast tried to remain respectful towards each other and the rules, especially when it came to Alan Rickman's BMW. Which one of these strict rules were you the most surprised to hear the cast had to follow? Don't forget to make your thoughts known in the comment section down below.